Hey guys, Sugar John coming at you with another Diablo Immortal video. I am joined today by my good friend Brandon. I do want to go ahead and I want to give him a massive shout out. He's a good friend of mine. I talk to him almost every single day. He's a lot of fun. He plays the Barbarian. He's basically played it since the launch of Diablo Immortal. We've been able to have a lot of synergy going on, and you guys know I'm not switching my class, so I'm never going to try out the Barbarian. So I figured, why not grab the guy who I've been able to work with on, hey, this is how we're going to play the Barbarian. And let's just talk about it a little bit more and get a little bit more deeper dive, because we've been able to find out some good harmony between the two of us, whereas I'm ranged and he's all melee attack. And I think with the new content coming with the warbands and with the Endless Trials, it's going to be a good idea to kind of make those bridges, those gaps with the synergy with those other player classes. So I go ahead, I grab Brandon, let's talk about the Barbarian, and yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy it. Let's get into it. All right, guys. So like I said, we are joined with our good friend Brandon. So the reason why this whole collab transpired and happened is, I'm sure you guys have seen some of my videos where I've done some speed running guides on different dungeons, and actually we got to figure out that last dungeon. I'm sure Brandon and I will probably come up with something to figure out how we can speed run that one as well. But there's a lot of synergy that's going to go into this, right? Like we had to talk about it. Luckily, you know your build super well. We know I am unfortunately the single target DPS that doesn't really buff a whole lot. But even though our kits are two totally different kits, right? Like there's not, like, you're not as focused on damage with this kit. However, you're still able to output damage. You're able to buff me to do more damage. And that was with me at low tiers, right? It was made a big difference. And that synergy is going to be what everyone's going to need when they're playing together. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pull up Brandon's stuff here, so that way he can kind of talk through you guys and let you guys know what it is on the Barbarian that made the difference with a lot of this content. And also, Brandon, let him know, like, what was it that you enjoy about playing the Barbarian class?
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Yeah, basically, I'll answer the second part first because it's probably the easier part. Playing the Barbarian for me is just the most fun because I like to be a big dumb hammer, and that's kind of the attitude that I go into it with. In a game, where I'm, trying to farm and do things like that. It's just my style of play. Also, I kind of look like a Barb, so it fits.
You know what? If the aesthetic fits, right? If the aesthetic fits.
Exactly. And then on top of that, it's just after I started playing it, I don't want to go to any other class on my main account. I may do like a free to play alt here coming up, since we're in Hell 5, and we're going to be in Hell 5 for quite a while.
Right.
But yeah, I don't want to change classes. I don't want to swap classes on my main account, just because I enjoy playing the Barb so much, because the farming style, everything is constant movement, because we don't just sit there and one shot everything with every skill that we do. It's constant movement. I think Demon Hunter and Monk are probably pretty similar to that, as far as farming goes, and doing damage. You guys definitely do more damage than us in general. But we found some ways. We found some ways to both do damage as a Barb, as well as be a pretty integral part of the party system, which is huge, coming up with the warband stuff and everything like that. And then basically what we're doing, like you said, we're constantly trying to come up with some new stuff. The new dungeon is definitely going to take some work, because it has a lot of different mechanics that are kind of slow, which is honestly kind of nice to figure out. Yeah, a lot of problem solving. And then I apologize, John, what was the first part of the question again?
The first part was, what is it? So the first part was what did we figure out, like the synergy? So talk the viewers through what kind of build that we're using here with your Barbarian, that's sacrificing a little bit of damage but gaining that synergy with the other classes, right?
Got it. Yeah. So basically, the gear and skills that you can see, if you want to go ahead and click on my skills, it should come up there.
Yes, sir.
We'll kind of go through those first. I call this build just the speed farm build in my armory. I actually use the armory. I'm one of the few people that does.
Oh wow, that's impressive alone, right there.
There's 3 keys to this. The sprint skill, demoralize skill, and actually whirlwind are the 3 keys to this. the sprint build the sprint part of it is very simple. We run pants that give the party that we're in a sprint buff, and it transfers to everybody in the party. And the animations get faster, your attack faster, so you you actually get more attacks in. The next biggest part is actually Whirlwind with the chest piece, which is called 5 Fresh Claws. 5 Fresh Claws is actually a recent discovery from us Barbs on our server anyway. Whirlwind, actually, it's similar to a wizard's freeze ray. How it's basically a channel ability, so it actually counts as like 5 hits for every 1 second. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 type of a deal. So 5 Fresh Claws with the Whirlwind, what it does, it allows us to shred armor. You see when you run with a party with a Barb that's running it over the enemy, you see a little armor that starts progressively getting more cracked, which increases your damage by 2%, stacking 5 times. So every 5 hits, you get 10% of just straight damage increase. It has no caps. One really awesome thing that we have found out running multiple Barbs running the build, that actually stacks. So if 2 Barbs are running the armor shred at the same time, you actually get you can have up to 20% additional damage just off of both Barbs running that. If you're more typically running 1 Barb in the team, you get the 10% armor shred on top of whatever you're doing. The next piece that is really integral is the demoralize skill. And then we're going to look at the helmet, which is the Battle Master's helm. It basically transforms completely what demoralize does. So normally demoralize will just, you'll shout out and then the enemies will actually kind of run away from you like a fear. So what this actually does is you still do the war cry part, and all of your allies are within the same radius. It's basically the same radius for the sprint buff and the demoralize buff. So it's about 10 to 15 yards. I think we've done the math on that on screen. It's circle radius from going out from you about 10 to 15 yards in game. But any allies that are within that circle will get a 25% damage bonus. Now, again, not capped. We know, like the Crusader banner, anything it increases your crit rate, but anything past 100% turns into crit damage, but that does hit a cap at some point. This is actually not capped, and it does stack with other Barbs and also with monks as well, because monks have a similar skill that just increases damage by 35%. So all in all, 1 Barb can actually give you a 35% damage increase, plus with the sprint bonus, you're going to get more and more attacks in. Now, off of that, everything else is kind of optional from that point on. I run Wrath of the Berserker to help buff my personal damage. And it normally will buff your movement speed and your attack speed, so you have the faster animations. I actually run the Coming Storm on my shoulders, which transitions that into crit rate. So instead of buffing my movement speed by 50%, it's actually buffing my crit rate by 50%. And or excuse me, nope, that is an offhand. I apologize.
This is cool down there, but
it just reduces the cooldown by 15%. Wrath of the Berserker doesn't have a super long cooldown. I was thinking of the offhand, but the offhand that I actually have equipped currently, I'm testing out. It's called Dishonor Blade. It increases demoralized duration, so you're gonna have that 25% damage boost a little bit longer. And hopefully that eats into the cooldown is what I'm trying to actually, not so much for the length of the buff, but more for the cooldown reduction effect that having a longer
so we get more
skill
uptime on it,
do.
right?
Exactly, because it is roughly a 30-second cooldown on demoralize. So having a monk or another barb is really key, and it takes good communication, because to have the buff up 100% of the time, you're going, instead of stacking with another barb, you're going to want to alternate for the most part until you get to the boss, and then stack as much as you can so you can try to melt the boss as fast as possible.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of one thing that I try to do there. And then again, for my own personal damage, I do run Frenzy as my main attack, and I run Lunatic Twin on my main hand weapon, which actually does a little bit more damage when I reach the maximum frenzy, which doesn't really take too long.
Gotcha.
But those are the pretty much, those are the keys to the buff build. What we're looking for as a barbarian is, especially when we run with like a demon hunter or a wizard, or some necros that are going to come in, if we're whatever class we're trying to do, whatever range class comes in, we try to basically position ourselves to where our sprint and our demoralize radius is going to be on those people.
Gotcha.
So when we are buffing everybody, we actually hit the main damage dealers, because us barbs, we're not the main damage dealer, but we can help the main damage dealer do a lot more damage. One other thing is, I am running the Mastermind Paragon. I think anytime you're running party stuff in this game, Mastermind Paragon tree is the one you want active, because the damage boost that you're going to get from that, from having multiple classes in your party, is just going to be immense. And it's just, icing on top of the cake, so to speak.
Yeah, I definitely think, especially with the synergy, like what we got going on here, and the fact that like you hit really good on the fact that obviously we got to communicate together. We got to keep close knit for a lot of this, right?
Yeah.
So we're already
very
within that 6 to 12 yard range, which that's where a lot of these properties come in here, right? Like this is within 5 yards for coordinated assault, within 5 yards for mutual defense. So you're already kind of tight knit anyway. So this just kind of piggybacks even more on the synergy between the two of us, right? And then, like you said, even the monk, which is also another melee character. So it's also going to be running side by side with you. So really the only compensation so much is just the communication with myself, because I'm the ranged party, right? But even then, when we know that this is how we're playing and we're synergizing well like this, that gives us 3 different classes for a lot of these buffs and a lot of the close-knit togetherness for doing all this damage. And honestly, I think when we did our testing, we ran with 2 barbarians, and we definitely noticed a big buff and a big boost when both of you guys were actually proccing those buff skills, right? So I definitely can see the
really
synergy.
Noticeable.
Yeah.
It's really noticeable. There's a little debate within our group as to what the exact best team composition is going to be. The obvious, no-brainer, don't even think about it, is Crusader, Barb, Monk with a damage dealer. Whoever you want as your damage dealer.
I can't argue that one.
Outside of that, there is an argument to be made of Monk double Barb. Because we don't actually get any kind of crit rate capping. It's just straight damage, and you end up with a 70% increase in your damage, potentially getting another 20 from stacking armor shred with 2 barbs, running the 5 fresh claws. So that could be a potential of 90% extra damage right there, that is not capped. That we have not seen any caps in all of our testing. We've been running this for a good couple, about 6 weeks now that we've been running this. So it's definitely been pretty eye-opening to the speeds that we're clearing some of these dungeons in.
Yeah, and I definitely think I think you touched on a good point there as well, guys. And a lot of the viewers, I know we get a lot of comments on, because Brandon makes YouTube like content as well, guys. So definitely want to give him a follow. But we get a lot of comments about, like, we're talking about, like, okay, so we're bringing in these 2 double barbarians. We know that's not the most popular class out there. We're talking about bringing in a monk instead of only just the satyrs. But when Brandon hinted on the fact that the satyrs crit damage is capped, and then armor penetration itself, which is your crit damage, right? We'll say that that's crit damage for lack of a better term. It's your primary damage doubled. So the fact that you're boosting all that damage you're weakening them, right? So they're taking more damage. You actually are making up for a lot of not even having a Crusader in this composition, right? Because we are taking a lot of those aura buffs that then give a massive boost increase to output for damage from your primary skills and other skills, right? Which is just going to obliterate your opponents. So I definitely want everyone to understand that it's okay to run with our boy Brandon here, just even though it's a Barb, you know, and not everyone loves the Barb gang out there, you know?
Yes. Barb gang, baby. You want a Barb in you want a Barb with you, if nothing else, to let us take all the aggro and take all the punches to the face while you sit back and kill it, right?
Exactly. I mean, I gotta tell you guys, like, I never thought I would be like, oh yeah, I want to grab a Barb for, oh, I'm gonna do this dungeon. Okay, well, yeah, where's my Crusader? And then Rod, no, I'm trying to find a Barb now. I'm like, hey,
Yep.
you got that buff build? You got that good stuff over there? Okay, all right, yeah. We can run this one. But yeah, I definitely think it makes a good difference, guys. And I obviously, like, with talking with us, you could tell we work together well all day, every day. And we've been able to come up with these ideas and the synergy to make everything run smoothly. So hopefully you guys could take a lot of this information, apply it, and you get to see, obviously you can see how passionate Brandon is about his Barb gang over there. So you can definitely see where it can be fun. I know myself, I personally will never switch to it, just like you probably will never switch off your Barb. I don't blame you. I've switched classes once for a bet that I lost. That was a bad idea. But
watch the video.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Oh yeah. It was just hilarious with Veiled Shot. But
Yeah.
but yeah, no. I think all around, like the point of this video, guys, it's just gonna explain to you guys what you can do with the Barbarian. Kind of talk a little bit more about that synergy, so you guys can learn. Like, you may not have to always be stuck in that mentality, right? Of like, oh, I gotta run with this class and this class. Like, work with your other players, right? Like, for example, I'm working with a Barbarian. I didn't think that class was worth anything, but when me and Brandon talk, we're like, oh, well, dude, you can do so much because we know how we both work, right? So definitely get out there, talk to your people, work together, and figure out these types of things. Because just because content creators like myself, Veiled, DM, even Brandon here say, oh, you should do this, doesn't mean you never stop exploring stuff on your own. Have a little fun with it, dig in. Obviously, you guys know I love my Demon Hunter. You can see it on all my content. You can see Brandon loves his Barbarian. It's on most of his content. Definitely check it out and just have fun with it. I mean, because at the end of the day, when we're talking about a game like Diablo Immortal, it's not about how skilled are you in the game. It's not about how much money you spend in the game. It's more about how much fun are you having, especially when you're playing with your friends and other clan members, so on and so forth. And I think that really makes the big difference when you're playing this game.
Definitely agree.
Awesome.
100%.
Well, before I wrap it up, Brandon, you got anything else you want to tell the viewers? And actually, before we do wrap it up, you want to let them know where they can find you and like what socials you got, what you got going on?
So on YouTube, youtube.com/JKG_Brandon. That's my channel. That I'm pretty much focusing on YouTube these days.
Okay.
I have links to all my other stuff there. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Twitch, which I really don't use anymore. But yeah, there's that. And then also, I am working on getting some more in-depth kind of infographics for the Barbarians on DiabloPro.gg
Awesome.
for the Aftershock United group. So I'm going to work on getting the buff build as well as some of the meme builds. Some of the meme builds are really fun to run as well. I'm working on getting some guides on those in written and picture form up on the website for you guys as well.
Yeah, I know that'd be great. Definitely go check out DiabloPro.gg. You'll see everyone who writes the article there. We do a good job of showing, hey, who wrote it, the links to all their socials and everything. So that way, you know, if you got questions and you can see like, hey, I like this guy, keep following around, reading all of his articles. I'm sure Brandon's going to kill it on those articles. But yeah, I will leave links down below to your channel and for all your socials. So everyone, please make sure you go over my boy Brandon. You hit that subscribe button. It's free. It doesn't cost you absolutely nothing. Might as well slam that button for him. But yeah, that's gonna do it for us, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you had fun with it. Hope maybe you would have decided to go Barb gang. I don't know. Maybe you want to join Brandon over here. I don't know about all that. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, and we will catch you guys in the next one. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.